So let's take the next step in our riff building formula. We looked into the 3 parts of any riff. We picked it apart so we can really learn the craft of riff building instead of relying on luck and chance and just learning other people's stuff and then hoping that we'll be able to come up with stuff. We picked it apart and said we have rhythm, we have structure, and we have notes. We looked at the rhythm part and we have a little system of learning that. Let's look now at the notes part. So we can put some notes to these rhythms. And that's really easy because notes are just, you have scales basically. If you play a song in C major, you have a scale that is the C major scale. And all the chords, all the notes, all the melody, whatever you put on top of the chords in the scale, they all come from that scale. You only play 7 notes. If you play the key of C major, you might have some little, chromatics and stuff like that, but the whole key is made up of 7 notes. So whenever we want to create a riff, we want to look at, okay, let's apply a scale to our rhythm. So let's first off look at the blues scale, because there's a ton of scales. You can have a blues scale at the bottom. Right, you can have that wow, that bluesy sound. Or you can apply a Phrygian major third, as we looked into as well. You can have the same rhythm but another scale and use other chords, power chords, double stops, and you get a totally different sound. Or you can have a major sound, right? You can say, okay, let me play that like I just did actually. That's an A minor scale, which is the same as the C major scale. Right? So you have that kind of sound instead of the right? So you just put a scale to it, and then we have different systems that you can use in order to come up with chord progressions, power chords, double stops, pedal notes, whatever, that you can apply to your rhythm and then come up with stuff that you really didn't come up with. You just pick random stuff. It's like walking into a smorgasbord, and you take different stuff on your plate and you mix them together like in a bowl, and then you eat it, right? And it comes, that's pretty good, right? And that's the way to be creative here. Then you can pick out the ideas you really like and work on those and really make those even better. But if you look in the little manual here, you can see that I've laid out the E blues scale and the A blues scale. And the reason for those is you can play in any key. You can use any blues scale in any key. But in the E blues, we have basically all the open strings here are included within the scale. And, most of the open strings are included. We don't have the B string there in A blues, but you have most of them, right? So those two are very good keys to work with because it's easy to have a, right, E here, right? So the thing I'm going to teach you now is so simple, but it's so effective. So don't, go, that's simple. It's really effective. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a rhythm, any rhythm that you've come up with, which you learned the last time, and then you're going to take the A blues scale first off here. Now let's just begin with the E blues scale, since that's the first in the manual. And then you're going to lay it out on the low E string. You can look, learn to play it with one finger, with your first finger. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take that first finger and then put a power chord to each step. That's the low E string, right? I just put my first finger across the A and the D string in the 2nd fret, right? Then I have my first finger and the next note on the next note of the E blues scale in the 3rd fret on the low E string. Then I put my 3rd finger across the A and the D string in the 5th fret. Same structure. Then I move that whole thing up to the 5th fret, the 6th blue note, the 7th, 10th, and then back to E, up in the 12th fret. That gives you, right? You play the blues scale, but with a power chord on every single note. If you take that, and then you start becoming really good at that. Right? There you have it. And then you add some rhythm to it. Let's say we go dot, 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 dot. Right? And then I can start, okay, that's my E is the basis, right? Like with the rhythm, we always put an X on the first beat. Right? When we're learning the craft, we can always change it afterwards, but when we're learning the craft, we put an E, an extra, so we start at 1. So we constantly come back to so we go back to 1, back to home base. We do the same thing here. We start on E because that's our key, right? We start in E blues, so that E is our home base. So I start there and I go and then I just randomly start exchanging the E for something else, right? I could go to the G, for instance. Right? The second beat there, the second stroke. Right? Or I could take the third stroke as well. Dat, 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 and move it up to A. Right? And this takes some focus in the beginning. Again, you have a wall you need to push through. You need to persist even though it seems hard. Really focus. You have to use an immense amount of energy just focusing on playing the most basic stuff in the beginning if this is new to you. So you get the rhythm down and then you start adding these power chords to the rhythm based on just moving your hand up the E string. And you can do an exercise, for instance. You take a rhythm and then you just play a new chord on each stroke. That completes the whole thing. Or it can go up and down. There you have a riff, right? Just put a little squeals in there. Right? And so you start randomly doing this, and then suddenly, after, you can start. But once you're comfortable with the rhythm that you created by setting random X's in boxes, really comfortable with it, then add some, add just one chord. And once it's easy, but. Right? Then you can start saying, okay, let me do some other chords here. Right? So that's a simple tool. Of course, we're going to learn more in the actual course, but this is such a simple tool. And you can, if you don't, if you never go into the actual course here, the riff building formula, then you can always pick up new ideas from bands, from riffs, if you start really analyzing what goes on. What is he doing there? What is that? What is he playing there? Right? And then you start, building tools from that, which is what I did to come up with this, the entire riff building formula. But this is such an essential tool, so really look into it, and you can create all kinds of cool stuff with it. So you can do the same thing in A, of course, with the A blues scale. But of course, when you're in E or A, you can also, let's just stay in the E blues scale. We're in the E blues now. And I can play like. Right? I can shift to playing power chords on the A string. Look at the charts again if you want to. Right? It's the same thing up here. And you get a little more clarity when you get to the A string. The same thing goes for A, that you can go down and play the A blues scale. Right, on the E string as well, right? So you get a lot of cool power chords there. A little trick that you can use to really spice this up is to just use two fingers, just first finger and third finger, and don't do a full power chord. Don't do the bar, but just play, for instance, if you're playing like in the D here, 5th fret on the A string, with your first finger in the 5th fret on the A string, and then 3rd finger in the 7th fret on the D string. Just play those 2 notes. Then you can do vibrato. And you can do pinch harmonics so much easier. Right? So now we have 2 different tools here, and it's really simple, isn't it? Right? And if you start adding simple tools upon simple tools, then you get complexity. But it's still simple tools, but it's just going to look like, wow, right, afterwards. Well, that's so complex. You use so many different, right, all kinds of tricks and stuff on top of each other. But for now, really get good at this. Really get good at this, because run those rhythms there. Create a simple rhythm that you can learn without, getting overwhelmed. This is too hard. Then create a simple rhythm, learn it to the point of effortlessness, and then add some power chord right, to that rhythm, and then record it, and that's a riff, right? Then in the next video, we're going to add structure, and we're going to round things up a little bit here, so you have a complete tool.